Welcome to the All Sports Podcast, looking to bring you the best and most entertaining podcasts about sports there is around. We hope you respect our opinions as we look to respect yours. This podcast is for entertainment and analytical purposes only and made to have fun. Leave us your thoughts of our topics and comments in the comment section below. We hope you will enjoy the podcast, like the videos, and subscribe to the channel. My name is Jonah. My colleague is Mr. Gentry. And this podcast, we just wanted, to kind of let our opinions out, let our voices out. An 18 and 17-year-old voice about sports. Yes, it's kind of crazy, but we have opinions too. This podcast, we will cover football, basketball, baseball when it comes back around, mainly NFL, NCAA, all across NCAA. MLB, and anything else we can think of. Maybe WWE, wrestling, AEW. We know a couple about that too. But tonight's podcast is really just going to be about college football. College football is coming to an end. Rivalry week is upon us. Really started tonight with the Egg Bowl. We'll talk about that in a second. We have games tomorrow night, Saturday, of course. And then the following week we have the SEC Championship, the Pac-12, the Big 12, the American, Big 10. We have everything coming. Sun Belt Conference Championship, MAC, MWC, all of college football. We'll cover all that here in the podcast. I'll let my colleague introduce himself. Happy Thanksgiving, good friend.
Yeah, all right. So my name's Gentry, like you said. Here's a disclaimer before I even start, but I'm a crazy Georgia fan, so anything I say about Georgia be kind of biased. But if you know me, you know that. But you'll know that over a couple videos that are uploaded on that topic. I'll touch on that later.
Oh yeah, big Georgia fan. I'm a Georgia Southern fan. They're 6-5. I'm just here to give my opinion on the better teams in the nation. And well, before we're going to talk about the rivalry week, we're going to get to the rivalry games. But man, let's talk about the Egg Bowl that just took place a couple hours ago. Guy goes down, Ole Miss with 8 seconds left, down 21-14. Quarterback gets a touchdown, and wide receiver for some reason wants to crawl on all four limbs to the back of the end zone, lifts his right leg into a doggy urination motion, and he gets 15 yards.
That reminds me of Odell Beckham. I remember when he did that. But it's so why are you surprised about Odell? But this guy maybe so.
I mean, rivalry week, you want the win, the Egg Bowl. You want to beat Mississippi State. Then you back your kicker up 15 yards because you get unsportsmanlike. Kicker misses it. All right. Ole Miss loses the game. There's 4 seconds left. They're not going to come back. I don't blame the kicker at all. It is not. He probably feels bad. He probably feels like it's his fault. But if you don't act stupid and go to the back of the end zone with that kind of celebration, yes, it's rivalry week, but you must contain your emotions in big games. Yes, you're 4-7. Who cares? Your season's over. But these games matter to your school, to your fans, to the students. Why? I don't know.
Two mediocre teams with a mediocre mindset.
Just looking to beat each other. I mean, and Mississippi State is bowl eligible with that win. They're 6-6 now. I'm pretty positive after that win. They are something.
Yeah, they always challenge Alabama, but not this year. Pretty good with Nick Fitzgerald in the past.
That's one way to end the season, go 6-6. I don't think they'll make a bowl game with the rest of the SEC schools, multiple over 7 wins, some on the verge of 7. Tennessee, Kentucky, those schools. Texas A&M has 7 with a rough matchup with LSU. We'll get to that in a moment. But we shall read off the rivalry week matchup. Let's see. We have the clean old-fashioned hate, Georgia Tech. We have good old Clemson, South Carolina. We have LSU and what's their names? Texas A&M, Ohio State, and Michigan. Who else we got? Let's see. What else? What's it? We got Wisconsin, Minnesota. We got the Iron Bowl, Alabama, Auburn, Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Florida, Florida State. All these games meaning so much to these schools. Baylor and Kansas. Big one to look at for Baylor. Big one right there. What do you say is the rivalry week? All these games are must watch, but what's your must watch game of the week?
So I would say, well, I don't want to say Michigan and Ohio State 'cause that's obvious, but one on the outside, I would say would be Texas A&M at LSU, and it's not based on last year. It's just the fact that, in my mind, LSU has a below average defense, and Texas A&M has a above average defense. So, I mean, it could be something, but the LSU's offense is so explosive that's probably not going to even matter coming into play. It's probably not going to even affect the outcome at all. But you never know.
Yeah, LSU, top team in the nation, my favorite team. That's not Georgia Southern, of course. I think they're the big favorite to win. My must-watch matchup has got to be the Minnesota and Wisconsin game. I mean, Minnesota, P.J. Fleck, Cinderella story, 8th in the nation in the college football playoff poll. They love them. They love what they're doing. 3:30 kickoff on ABC. Jonathan Taylor, that dude's a stud, man. He's had a rough season. Wisconsin had some tough losses, but Minnesota is looking to do the inevitable. They win this game, they're in the Big Ten championship. Then they get Ohio State. If they beat Ohio State, they are in the freaking playoffs. That is huge for playoff. Like, I don't know the word. I can't think of the word. God, what's the word?
It's better for ratings because I might get some dislike for his comment, but nobody likes all these Southern teams in the playoff. I mean, it just is what it is. Whether you like it or not, it's not me being biased at all. It's just a fact that the South produces the best football prospects. I mean, look across the board.
Indeed, indeed.
Only other thing you can say is California, but them teams ain't looking too good.
Yeah, you always see Georgia and Alabama. The boys from the Bayou, LSU is finally stepping back up and getting back on top where they used to be. Ohio State's always going to be up there, even when Urban Meyer left. They've become a powerhouse, solid. But yeah, I think Minnesota, a lot of key matchup right there. And must watch 3:30 on ABC. Now let's get to the interesting college football playoff poll, shall we? College Football Playoff Committee moved Ohio State up from number 2 to number 1. They knocked down LSU to number 2 after a somewhat questionable performance against Arkansas. I guess questionable, not really. They're still, to me, the best team in the nation. Held Clemson at 3. Ever since they moved them to 3, they haven't moved their spot. Georgia stays at 4 with an impressive victory over A&M in a rainy matchup. 6-point game, I'm pretty sure. Correct me?
Yeah, 19-13.
That's right. Alabama stays at number 5 with a dominating performance over Western Carolina Catamounts, 66-3. Utah moves up to 6 with an Oregon loss. They go down to 14. Their shots are ruined. They're not in the playoffs. They can enjoy the Rose Bowl. I don't know. Utah can go to the Rose Bowl. I don't care. Utah can go to the playoffs if they can do it. Oregon, your season's over. Oklahoma's at 7, Minnesota's at 8, Baylor's at 9, Penn State's at 10. That rounds out the top 10 of the college football playoff. Let's talk about Ohio State. Man, what's your thoughts on the Buckeyes, the Ohio State University?
This relates to them, but it's kind of, it's not exactly about them, but it deals with them because they face them this weekend. But if Jim Harbaugh wins, it'd be a career-defining win. If he loses, in my mind, it's career-defining loss, and I think he's going to get fired. I don't know. How many years do you need to show that you can beat them in one game? I mean, I know it's Ohio State, but come on. Come on. You just gotta win. At least
Agreed. Jim Harbaugh has not found that signature win that he needs to boost himself back up to why Michigan brought him back home. You get your near 10 wins a season, but these couple years in a row losing to Ohio State just hurts. Because, you have a chance to beat them. You just got to do it. You play in the big house, the biggest stadium in college football, with not the biggest fan base, but when you got 104,000 people coming to watch you play some football, that's a pretty big fan base. Behind you, rallying behind you. I understand Ohio State's a good team. They've been in the playoffs nearly every year almost. Not last year. They kind of got snubbed. I don't know. It's an opinion base. Urban Meyer coached in the Rose Bowl in his final game. Now with Fox Sports.
I mean, you beat Notre Dame, but I mean that's kind of expected at this point.
Yeah, Notre Dame 9-2 on the season. They've had a up and down season, kind of weird for a 9-2 team. But Michigan, this big matchup, they're not going to make the playoffs. Even with an Ohio State win, they would need everybody above them to lose, which that's not going to happen. There's no shot for Michigan to make the playoffs. If you're out of the top 10, you're not going to make the playoffs. Like Penn State, they're out too. So top 9, these top 9 teams with 10 wins and more, everybody's got a fair shot at it. Just depends on who wins and who loses. But Justin Fields transfers from Georgia in the offseason. Man, I don't know how that happened, but that's a Heisman quarterback right there. If not this year due to Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow, but Ohio State's got him something for at least next year because he can't go anywhere this year.
Yeah, that's how I would rank my Heisman candidates. Just like you said, just Joe, Jalen, and then Justin. If somebody in the comments says Chase Young, you're going to have to talk to me for a while because this is a defense player. That's kind of hard to convince me.
Chase Young, I think he's a stout player. He's led that Ohio State defense. Big Ten defense, not known necessarily as a great defense. They've never had a good defense like SEC caliber defense or Clemson defense, but he sure has led the charge. I like the defense. I like Chase Young. I think it's a fair statement. He's not going to win it, but I like the conversation.
That's what kept me from saying that was a must-watch game. Would be that game over Georgia. I had to say was a fluke, and here's why. Because I think South Carolina's with their third-string quarterback. I heard the Clemson defense is elite, but they haven't really played stout competition so far. But I mean, you've seen last year they didn't really play nobody that great, and then they destroyed Alabama. So all comes out in the end.
Oh yeah, but Ohio State, they got it this year. I wouldn't be surprised if we get an Ohio State LSU matchup in the end. Clemson's going to find a way to try to get in there. They're always finding a way to get in there. Dabo Swinney's a heck of a coach, damn good one. They got Mr. Goldilocks, Mr. Trevor Lawrence from Cartersville, Georgia, 4A school from the GHSA, yes sir. Stud quarterback, he could be a Heisman candidate. See, he's kind of had a sophomore slump kind of year. Not really. He just kind of shined his freshman year, dominated in the title game. But Clemson just staying there. We'll get to them, talk about them more in a couple seconds. Moving on to, honestly, my pick to win out this year, the Louisiana State University Tigers from Baton Rouge. Man, this team. Since I watched them week 1 against Georgia Southern, that 55-3 victory was demoralizing, but it opened eyes to the nation. It opened eyes to me, and this offense has proved itself week after week against everybody.
Yeah, interesting point that relates to all the teams in the top 4 would be, see, it can't happen, but it would be intriguing to me. Kind of hurt my heart at the same time. By the way it's set up, which is not going to stay this way because everybody knows this. But Georgia's at 4 and Ohio State's at 1, so they would be matched up. But there's no way that could happen because Georgia beats LSU. They'd probably get knocked down to 4. I don't know. Depending on, never know with the committee. It depends on the score, how close it was, the other games, how close they were. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into that, but I think if LSU loses by only like a touchdown or 2, they're still getting in.
Yeah, especially with that win over Alabama, that gives them leverage over Alabama. If Alabama beats Auburn, they're 11-1. Their season's over. LSU goes on 12-0, faces Georgia, loses. They're 12-1. They didn't win the conference, but they beat Alabama. That gives them leverage. But if Utah finished out the season like they should, does a Pac-12 12-1 Utah team get in over non-conference best, in my opinion? People could say Oklahoma. People could say Ohio State. Best offense in the nation, LSU. Could Utah get in over LSU and Alabama?
They should get in over Alabama. I'm an SEC homer, so can't say I'm just like this Alabama hater. The fact is, they haven't won the conference 2 of the last 3 years. Yeah, I know the pedigree, Nick Saban, Alabama, the university. I know, but daggum, you just gotta. You got the NFL talent, you got the Hall of Fame coach. You just gotta put it together.
Nick Saban, my favorite coach. That man is indeed one of a kind. I think he's the greatest of all time, just in my opinion. He's matched Bear Bryant's numbers just about. Even did with the titles, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah.
Or either he's one behind.
You'd have to count the LSU one too to be matched.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I keep forgetting that. That's very weird to me to see that.
Utah fans would be disappointed if a Georgia victory over LSU, and they keep LSU in and Utah out with a 12-1 Pac-12 championship season, and Utah goes to the Rose Bowl. I think they'll be pretty livid about that, but only time will tell. Anything can happen in rivalry week. Anything. A&M could upset LSU. Tech could upset Georgia. Auburn can, not an upset. Auburn's a really good defensive team, but Bo Nix has got to.
You know what? I don't know how that slipped my mind. That's the game you got to watch right there. Here's why. Because Bo Nix, the true freshman, he has the most experience out of the 2 quarterbacks. Mac Jones, he's played Arkansas and Western Carolina. So, those teams really aren't that great. And I think Auburn's got a top 4 defense this year, so offense is kind of like Georgia's. It's not reliable. I think it's better than Georgia's just because they run RPO. So, they got a better chance.
Oh, yeah. Gus Malzahn's a tough man. He knows what he's doing at Auburn. He's still trying to find a way to get Auburn back into the playoffs. So they've never been in the playoffs, but they've come so close. They beat Georgia when they were number 1. They beat Alabama when they were number 1, but Georgia came back in the SEC championship and just gave them the hammer.
Auburn has nothing to lose in that game. I think Gus put his everything into it because if he wins the game or even only loses by a field goal, I think he keeps his job for at least another year.
Oh yeah.
So
if he beats Alabama, he's looking to beat Alabama. Ain't no doubt about that one. He's playing for bragging rights right there. And the game's at Jordan-Hare. Probably a 3:30 kickoff as usual on the CBS, but
very, very tough place to play.
Very. LSU, Texas A&M, a game to watch in Baton Rouge after a 74-72 7-overtime game last year. Wow. They had Gatorade poured at Ed Orgeron. They celebrated. Texas A&M kept fighting, and LSU just let it slip out of their hands.
Funny about that is that singular game changed the whole landscape of overtime because
they
had to fix it.
Yeah, the overtime rules changed, and third overtime now things switch up. You gotta start going for twos, like just 2 points after like 5 overtimes or something. Actually, sorry, but it's kind of crazy how the game has changed from then and now. On to the third-ranked Clemson Tigers from Clemson, South Carolina. Dabo Swinney, man, he is coaching up a storm out there in Clemson and led this team to all playoff appearances, I'm pretty sure. 2016 victory over Alabama led by Deshaun Watson in Tampa Bay. And a dominating victory against them last year in Santa Clara, where they play at Levi Stadium. People were shocked. Tua didn't play. He didn't show up. They had the best defensive 7 in the nation last year. Dabo Swinney's got it going for them Clemson Tigers.
Yeah, and it's hard for me to judge them. Like, I know they're great because of what I said about last year. Everybody thought they were going to get mollywopped, and they mollywopped Alabama. But Now, I know everybody's different depending on their taste and who their team is and what conference they like and all stuff like that. But I've only watched 3 quarters of Clemson. No, I say probably watched about 6 quarters this year, about a game and a half. So I really don't know enough about Clemson to say where they're at out of the top 4.
I think that they're right where they need to be, in my opinion. Honestly, they're they haven't proved themselves. It's kind of hard to say that, but their conference is weak. They play Wofford in a midseason matchup. They just haven't had that out of conference schedule to prove themselves. They beat Texas A&M, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah, the only thing I dislike is these analysts and I respect them. That's their jobs. Most of them know what they're talking about, but you can't base this team on last year's team. That's completely different. They still have the defensive line last year for Clemson was amazing. So, I mean, there's going to be a drop off there. I know their defense has elite this year. It's like Georgia and Clemson, the only 2 teams to not allow 20 points in a game, or 20 plus. Yeah. Only 2 teams in the nation.
Clemson, stout defense, honestly. I mean, they're putting up 50 and not giving up 20. That says a bunch right there. And again, I like Dabo, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne. That's a good running back. That's a horse back there for them. He runs the ball.
Based on everything, the way it's laid out right now, there's a whole next season. But my opinion, next year's draft, you got Trevor Lawrence in 1 and Justin Fields at 2. After next year's college football season.
We'll have to see how that turns out. Hopefully still be podcasting back by then. But moving on to the number 4th ranked Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia, they're trying to find their offensive identity. The defense is there. The defense is stout. It's unbelievable. They've given up, I don't know, did they give up a rushing touchdown against A&M? They only gave up 13, so they only gave up 1 touchdown.
They didn't give up 1, but they did give up that 1 to Bo Nix, though.
They gave up 1 rushing touchdown all season. They lost to South Carolina in a I guess you could say shootout. 3 interceptions by Jake Fromm. He attempted over 30 passes. He's like 1 for 6 in that kind of game. South Carolina came to play that day. Ryan Hilzinski playing for his brother, father there. It was a 12 o'clock game, Georgia and 12 o'clock games. They kind of get thrown off a little bit. They had just come from Knoxville beating the snot out of Tennessee 43-14. And they lose 20-17 to the Gamecocks in Athens off of a missed field goal from Rodrigo Blankenship. And from then on out, they shut out Kentucky. An impressive win versus Florida. Shut out Missouri. They had a nice game against Auburn. Almost gave it up, but that defense stood tall in the end, and then a nice victory over A&M. The game that we thought would be the one to watch, but A&M kind of slacked up this season, and now they got Georgia Tech this coming Saturday.
So I'm not gonna waste time talking about this. I've talked about this enough to make somebody go to sleep, but I've never seen a cornerback change like a game like that. That was literally the same guy. I can't think of his name. Forgive me for that, but he got 3 interceptions in 1 game, 2 in 1 half, and people want to point at Rodrigo too. I don't care what you say. This is not heat of the moment, prisoner of the moment, just because it's 2019 and this is the season. That's the best kicker in Georgia history. Yeah, you can look at other kickers. I'm sure there's been some greats, but he's the all-time leading scorer now. I mean, he's earned it. If he can miss, he can have an off day. You just can't have him and Fromm and the running backs having an off day. But that's how it went.
It's one of those games at 12 o'clock kickoff. Georgia kind of just shaking. They couldn't get under their feet. They couldn't get nothing to go their way. Just turning the ball over left and right, and just didn't end out their way. They get a clean old-fashioned ABC 12 o'clock kickoff. In Atlanta, Bobby Dodd. You can't sleep on Georgia Tech. They got a new offense, spread option. It's kind of interesting with old coach Paul Johnson leaving. 2 national titles at Georgia Southern, moved on to Georgia Tech. Bigger money, bigger city, bigger lights. He was somewhat impressive there. It kind of just slipped out of his hands, but you can't sleep on a rivalry week.
See, that's what I was about to say. Georgia. Now this is, I mean, this could prove to not even matter. But if they don't put up at least 30 points on Georgia Tech, I'm kind of scared because they talk about how bad LSU's defense is. I mean, you give them that time, that film. They look at the South Carolina game, they look at the Auburn game, they look at the Texas A&M game. I mean, shoot, they can look at any other games how this offense been playing, and they just lock Georgia down. I mean, everybody knows on first down they're running the ball at the middle. But I mean, shoot.
Yeah, it's pretty kind of easy to look at. Georgia know what they're going to do unless they pull out some trickery on Tech and start to try to hammer them and get in Atlanta and get out early. Moving on to Tuscaloosa. Bryant-Denny Stadium is the home of the 5th-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide, home of one of the greatest coaches in all time, Nick Saban. Alabama 10-1 on the season, a loss to number 2 LSU, 46-41. What a game. Alabama, they do not control their destiny. They got to have some great things happen for them. A Georgia loss, maybe. That's their best option is a Georgia loss in the SEC championship. Alabama moves up. Utah loses.
If Ohio State loses, don't they get in?
That's easily an option. They just slide Alabama in. Committee loves Alabama. That's no question about it. I've been in every single one of them. They've won 2 of them, I think.
For most likely this is just popular opinion I see on all types of platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any of that. They say the committee hates Ohio State, which kind of, I mean, it can be backed up by certain instances, but maybe not. So Ohio State can't afford to lose any game.
They can't. Ohio State, they look good. That offense is rolling. I think they have the team. They have the strength of record. I think they have a good shot. They got to take care of business. I think they have the best shot.
Justin Fields nursed that wrist because that's what was causing them trouble when they got the 3 turnovers against Penn State. Even though they got the 3 turnovers, they still dominated in the end. Only give up 17, still scored almost 30. So
it's ridiculous. Alabama, a tough one. They got to go to Jordan Hare. We just talked about this. We'll talk about it just a little bit more. Last time that they went to Jordan Hare, I'm pretty sure Auburn took care of business.
Yeah, because that was the year they had Carry-On
Johnson and Mr. Jared Stidham. Jared Stidham and Carry-On Johnson, a tough RPO matchup. Gus Malzahn had a nice little team there. That was the year that they beat number 1 Alabama, number 1 Georgia, 2017 year. At Jordan Hare, very fortunate for Auburn's schedule. Now they host Alabama again, but we're talking about Alabama. Nick Saban, they're missing Tua. He's out for the season. Nobody doubts that. He's done. Mac Jones has got to step up. They got Tua's younger brother. They already burned his red shirt. Could we see, if Alabama makes the playoff, could we see a younger Tagovailoa make a play? I don't know. What does Alabama got to do to beat Auburn?
I mean, I still don't understand that. That's not really one of the topics we had written down, but I mean, I know, well, I don't know, because I've never played a sport like that and had that fire and desire to get on the field, but at some point, you just got to tell yourself, or as the coach, me and Nick Saban having that much experience and being that good of a coach, you just got to sit him out. I mean, I don't understand. And all that says to me, when I think about it, is that Mac Jones ain't that good. I mean, that's all it says to me.
Mac Jones is Mike Jones has got to get his feet wet. I think he's got to get his little feet wet. He's got to get going. I think he could be an AJ McCarron type kind of player. He's got to see it. He's got to play in it, and he's got his shot. Jordan Hare, 3:30, Saturday, November 30th, with Auburn. He can prove his worth, or will that Auburn defense get to him, and can Auburn help Bo Nix and his resume with a win against Alabama? I don't know. We'll see. Moving on, we move to number 6, the Utah Utes. Interesting topic. We don't usually see the Pac-12 much, but they made their presence all year with Oregon, with the only loss to Auburn to start the season. They lost again to Arizona State last week by 3 points, but Utah looking to make it their first time into the playoffs.
Wonder how much it would have changed the outlook if Oregon didn't lose to Auburn. Even though they would have still lost to Arizona State, so I mean that kind of canceled it.
I think Oregon might have been in the top 4.
Yeah, might have.
Utah has Colorado this week, 7:30 on ABC, with the only loss to USC, 30-23. Since then, they have dominated Washington State, Oregon State, Arizona State, California, Washington, UCLA, and Arizona. They are the best in the South. They're going to. Unless they lose this game, they could actually, based off of what ESPN has, 7-1 in their conference. 7-2 is USC. Their only loss is to USC. But USC season's over. It looks like they're 8-4. Their season's done. If Utah loses, I'm pretty sure, if I'm correct here, USC is going to the Pac-12 championship.
Yeah, that might be the case, but I have no idea on the Pac-12. So,
Pac-12 for the North, Oregon has that easily won out. They're going to the title game. And I'm pretty sure that Utah will handle Colorado. They had a good start to the season. Mel Tucker, former Georgia defensive coordinator, he had a good start. He beat Colorado State. He beat another top team I done forgot. But they had a good start. They kind of slowed their way back down. 5-6 on the year, looking to upset Utah. They looking to hurt their season. Utah controls their own destiny. If they win out, they have just as right of a shot to be in the playoffs as any other team. Next up, we talk about the Boomer Sooners, Oklahoma. The University of Oklahoma, who was looking like the team to stop at the start of the year. Jalen Hurts. That offense is just looking as good as any offense. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray. Man, Jalen Hurts just had a fire lit under him, and he took off.
yeah, I feel bad for him because, I mean, I knew how talented he was, even though he looked bad in the national championship game. Everybody's going to have an off game, off day. It's just part of life, part of sports. And then it really sucks he had to go out like this because unless there's some mayhem at the top, I mean crazy mayhem, Oklahoma's going to be on the outside looking in, just getting a good bowl game. And then he'll ride off into the sunset, probably be a top 10 draft pick.
Jalen Hurts, he did some good stuff at Alabama. He had that struggle with in the first half against Georgia. Then Mr. Tungvailoa saved the day for Alabama. Jalen Hurts then sits behind Tua for the year, comes into the SEC championship, wins the game against Georgia. He redeemed himself. He redeemed Alabama his junior year, and then he transfers out to Oklahoma after Kyler Murray leaves for the NFL, and he's just, him and Lincoln Riley are just taking off over there in Oklahoma. Oklahoma, they don't necessarily control their own destiny. They can win their conference out. They have to beat Baylor. Came back from 25, which honestly to me, I think Baylor, they can make the playoffs. Any team right now in this top 9 can make the playoffs. Baylor could be rightfully undefeated right now. They're up 25 against Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's a good point, but yeah, I mean, I know this all too well being a Georgia fan. You just got to close that up.
Just Baylor and Oklahoma. That's going to be a good one. Big 12 matchup. We'll talk about conference championships another time. Maybe next week, probably. And Actually, we'll talk about one right now. Let's talk about the big one next week in Atlanta, Georgia, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Between 1 and 2, wherever the committee puts them, LSU and number 4 Georgia. If everything pans out, you got number 1 or number 2 versus number 4 LSU versus Georgia. You got that amazing offense, amazing defense, questionable but can turn up offense versus questionable yet can turn up defense. What's your take on this game? It's already said and done. That's going to happen no matter what.
My take is that Georgia would just have to play mostly like they did against Florida on both sides of the ball. Problem is, Joe Burrow is way, way better than Kyle Trask at this point. This is irrelevant. I'm just saying this for future videos and future reference. I think Kyle Trask is going to be a great quarterback next year and the year after that. But another thing they're going to have to do is they've been really good at sending pressure this year. The stats might not show it, but the bad thing is when they don't get pressure, they get burnt. As far as Georgia goes, another big thing is I don't know who this is or who this is on the staff. It's probably mainly Kirby because he has most of the control. But when Georgia gets a lead, you can look back Kirby's first year, but mainly this year they go in like a type of conservative prevent defense, and shoot, you give that to LSU 30 seconds, the game's gonna be tied. I mean, that offense is crazy. I don't know what else to say about that offense, but I mean, I think Georgia just they started doing the pitch plays like they used to do back in the day when they had Herschel Walker. I like that. It's a little something different, not up the middle every time, because I mean, LSU's going to know that's coming. All LSU has to do, I know they can break through the Georgia defense, because that offense is too elite. But, I think what the Georgia offense is going to have to do is going to have to run some trick plays. They're just going to have to stick to me watching Georgia all year in the past couple of years, just knowing from as a quarterback, as a great football quarterback. I know I've been very critical of him, but he can be great. He's shown it at times. You just got to stick to the back shoulder fades. You got to look for the tight end over the middle. Swift, he needs space. You want to grit and grind running back, you got to go to Brian. You want a fast, speedy break a tackle and get a touchdown running back, you got to go to James Cook. I don't know where he's been. You still got Zeus. I don't know about him. I think they're kind of antsy with him because he's injury prone, but that LSU is kind of touch on them a little bit. Their wide receiver core is just as good, if not better, than Alabama's running back. Forgive me for not knowing his name. He had the game of a lifetime against Alabama. I know he's going to be a handful, but Georgia does have, it's either Georgia or Clemson, so that would put Georgia at that would put Georgia at second in the least at run defense, so they can stop the run. But big thing with them is the pass. That's where LSU will go in this game, I'm assuming, because I mean that's their bread and butter. That's how they've been destroying teams all season. But thing Georgia needs to look at is like, Georgia's offense been great? No, I think it's been mediocre compared to their talent. But Ole Miss, I think they got about around 430 plus yards on that LSU defense. So I mean, the potential is there. They can destroy it. They just got to figure out what to do. The potential is there for LSU too. I mean, Georgia's offense is pretty one-dimensional, you ask me. I mean, I hate to say this because it's very disrespectful, but I mean, it's basically like a high school offense. They just run the ball at the middle, and on second down, they run like a screen, and then on third down, they run like a comeback route. I mean, did I see that in the Texas A&M game? No, but I just seen a lot of sloppiness. I mean, I know it's raining, but at some point, you just got to hold them accountable. Everybody, James Coley, Jake Fromm, offensive line for not holding up as good. Running backs, I think they underachieved this year from what I expected. I think Georgia would have benefited tremendously if Holyfield would have came back for his senior year, but can't do nothing about that. That's shoulda, woulda, coulda situation. But that's all That's all I gotta say for right now.
On the LSU side, Edwards-Helaire, he's a nice little Cinderella story, and he's got a fire lit under him. They have the doubters. He's too short. He's not going to do this. He's not going to do that. That man is playing like a running back in the SEC. Joe Burrow, he's Heisman top. He's Heisman top tier. He's going to be probably Heisman winner if he keeps up what he's doing. They have Jamar Chase. They have the rest of their wide receivers. I don't know the names. Sorry, but they have Justin Jefferson. There you go. That's the other guy. The defense, man, that's
big thing I'm looking for is if Dale Pitt's going to come back or not.
Right. Like the defense when they played their first game of the season was amazing. Which Coach O himself said in an interview said that they prepared for that game more than any other game that in that season. But that's just what he said, and they sure looked like it. But the rest of the season, though, has kind of been iffy on that LSU defense. I thought they had something special, which looked like they're going to be the best team in the nation, but the defense is given leeway to like Ohio State and Clemson, Alabama, Georgia. Yes, they beat Alabama, but you get a healthy Alabama team. I don't know if LSU wins that game.
Yeah,
just my opinion.
It's not even close, though. To me, out of the top four, that's the worst defense.
Easily, because you got Ohio State with Chase Young and the average all-around defense. You got Clemson, who always has a great defense about that. You have Georgia, top 2 defense in the nation with Ohio State. I don't know who else would be up there besides Clemson, of course, but if not the best defense. And
the best
but LSU, they just...
Based on this year, it'd be LSU and Ohio State. And Ohio State, out of that top 4, I'm not talking about the whole country, I'm talking about the top 4. They be closer than people think with LSU.
Yeah,
Clemson would be better, but Trevor Lawrence has some interception woes for most of the season, but I think he's finally got them figured out.
Yeah, I think that North Carolina game kind of lit a fire under Clemson and just kind of made them want to play like Clemson football has played because they've been doing things their way. But Joe Burrow, he's got to find Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson in that Georgia secondary who can be beat but hasn't showed that potential all season long. Their defensive line and linebackers will be ready for Edwards-Helaire. Can they get to Joe Burrow is the question. Because I don't think Joe Burrow's faced any pressure this year. He's just been throwing it up. Even if he's been facing pressure, he still has tremendous stats. It's insane what that man done. But for LSU to win this game, they have to find their defense. Yes, Georgia's offense is questionable, but if they can find a leak in that defense, Georgia will find a way to try and win that football game. LSU's got the offense. But
if Georgia loses, it's going to be from the offense. Like the past 2-3 years, it's going to be the same thing. This is the best defense I've seen over Kirby's run. I mean, yeah, they had Roquan, but no, that defense wasn't as good as this one is. Because there's something different about this one. The pass defense, that really scares me. Because I don't know if that's just because Kirby goes conservative or whoever's on the staff. Like, what's the word? Not necessarily the long pass defense, more as like the slant, short pass defense. They really give that up, which makes no sense. Because the linebacker core has really improved with like Nolan Smith. So, I don't know.
We'll pitch in more on it next week on the podcast. Make sure you tune in for conference championship week and big week next week. And finally, we'll kind of close out the first episode with some rivalry week predictions. Sorry. Let's start off with Virginia Tech. Games at Virginia, kind of an interesting game. Both teams very, very decently solid. Not top tier, not mediocre, but they're there. What's your take? 24 Virginia Tech at Virginia. Cavaliers, Hokies. What you got?
So I would say like Virginia Tech by 10 points.
All right, I'll have to back you up on that one. I'll go Virginia Tech as well. I think they'll get the job done at Virginia. Next up, you got Texas Tech in Texas.
I'm thinking Texas Tech maybe by a touchdown. Here's why Tech's been struggling this year. So, I mean, I thought they not necessarily. Well, there's no other way to say it. Kind of, they did underachieve, but tremendously, in my opinion. Should have that. Should have. Oh my God, I can't speak. They should have not beat LSU, but some of these games they've been losing, that's no excuse. Not with Sam Ehlinger. He's a pretty good quarterback.
Right, that's why I'm going to have to go with Texas on this one. Texas, they were ranked 10th in the nation at one point, but this season they just went downhill. They're 6-5. Sam Ehlinger said they were back, but their struggles continue. It just kept on piling on. Iowa with the big win over Minnesota either a week or two ago. I don't forget. They visit Nebraska. Scott Frost looking for a big win at Nebraska. Who you got?
So, I don't trust Scott Frost, so I always had to go with the opposition there.
I myself go with Iowa. Iowa looked pretty good a couple weeks ago. American Athletic Conference. Number 19 Cincinnati heading down to Memphis, Tennessee, face number 18 Memphis Tigers. What you got there?
I got Memphis. Probably by about touchdown.
Pretty fair. I'm gonna go with Cincinnati. Cincinnati's they kind of playing with a little fire. Memphis as well, but I think Cincinnati might pull it out, in my opinion. Next up, Ohio State and Michigan.
Ohio State and Michigan.
The game played at Ann Arbor, 12 o'clock time.
So this is killing me. So I'm not answering right away. But based on, like, if I had to bet anything valuable to me, I would say Ohio State by a field goal. Here's why I say by a field goal. I expect some turmoil to go on. But here's the bad thing. If I look back on this video after I upload it tonight, it's either going to happen like that or Ohio State's just going to blow their doors off. It's probably going to be the second one, but I mean, I'm trying to think positive here. Maybe a good and entertaining football game for the fans, but you never know.
And Ohio State's dominating. Jim Harbaugh needs a win. The game's played in the big house, but I don't think Jim Harbaugh will get it this year. Justin Fields and Chase Young, those two young stouts, they're just turning up this year. I'm going to have to go Ohio State. I think they're looking to make a statement. It'll start off slow. Ohio State slowly pulls away and knocks them off. Williams-Brice Stadium, Columbia, South Carolina. The Gamecocks host the Clemson Tigers. They have upset one team this year. Can they do it again?
That's not even close to me. That's such a big fluke to me. It's not even because it was Georgia. It's just the amount of things. Like, if you just were unbiased and you know, let's say 65% about college football, I mean, the amount of things that went wrong for Georgia and went right for South Carolina was ridiculous. So I got Clemson winning by like 4 touchdowns.
I have to go with Clemson too. South Carolina losing to Appalachian State a couple weeks ago. Tough loss to a Sun Belt team. They've been injured all year. I understand that. Their third string quarterback. They lost Jake Bentley earlier in the season. First game of the season to North Carolina. They haven't found their way. They got a nice little win in Athens. It's their big win. They're not going bowling. They're kind of just down. They'll play. They might play for rivalry. They might have something, but I think Clemson will just come in and roll them over. Clean old-fashioned hate, Bobby Dodd Stadium, Georgia Tech.
Yeah. This one there, I got Georgia by 3 touchdowns.
I'll go Georgia as well. Georgia Tech, they're still trying to find that offensive identity with the spread option. They've moved out of the flex bone triple option. They got 3-4 wins on the season, something like that. And Georgia, they're looking to close out the season and make it to the SEC championship, ranked 4th in the nation. Moving on to, let's see, the Iron Bowl, Alabama and Auburn. Played in Jordan here.
I got Auburn in a thriller by 6 points. Don't kill me. I just feel it.
Man, that's bold prediction. 3:30 CBS kickoff. Mac Jones is going to walk in there with a chip on his shoulder. He's going to get rattled and battled, but I think Alabama, Nick Saban, they always find a way to do it. They'll do it this time. I'm going to go with Roll Tide Roll over the Tigers and Gus Malzahn and Jordan Hare. Moving on to Minneapolis. TCF Bank Stadium, 3:30 ABC kickoff. Number 12 Wisconsin Badgers visit the Cinderella number 8 Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Yeah, I got Minnesota in this one by 10 points.
I agree. I think Wisconsin kind of 2 losses on the year. They beat Michigan badly, but they lose to Ohio State. I forgot who else they lost to. They lost back to back. No, they lost to Illinois. That's right. They lost to Illinois by a point, then loses to Ohio State the following week. They want to play to win. They want to ruin, but Minnesota and in that stadium, they want a shot at the playoffs. I got Minnesota as well. Number 9 Baylor visiting Les Miles and the Kansas Jayhawks.
Yeah, that's Baylor, bro. Probably. No, I wouldn't get that. Probably about 2 touchdowns.
I'll go Baylor as well. Baylor looking to make it to the Big 12 championship unscathed, even though that one blemish to Oklahoma 25-point lead. Baylor looks to take care of business of the Jayhawks this time around. Moving on to Tennessee and Vanderbilt. Two little matchup here.
Yeah, so I got Tennessee because what's the word here? I can't think of his name. That's just horrible. No, I'm talking about
the quarterback coach.
Tennessee's head coach. Can't think of his name.
Mr. Pruitt.
Yeah, that's him. He's a weird guy to me, but that's besides the point. But he's had them rolling after that embarrassing loss to freaking Georgia State, and I'm kind of say this in a troll manner. Forgive me, but I kind of hope Vanderbilt keeps Derek Mason because Georgia just destroys him. But he might lose his job if he can't come down with this win.
I agree. I'll go Tennessee as well. This game's played at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Senior Day. For Tennessee, looking to pick up the victory. Notre Dame visits Stanford, 4 o'clock.
So, I got Notre Dame in this one probably by maybe, they might win by 16 points or so.
I think I'll go Notre Dame as well. Stanford kind of controlled their own destiny earlier in the season, but this kind of fell apart for them. Oregon hosting Oregon State after Oregon just losing to Arizona State, kind of hurting them and their playoff hopes. But they face Oregon State at Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to bounce back and assert their dominance and at least win by a couple scores.
Justin Herbert, possibly the Heisman favorite going into the season. I don't think he showed up lately. I don't know where he's been. Yes, Oregon's the favorite. I'm going to pick Oregon, but I just don't know where he's been. It's kind of been bad for. They were just number 6, but it's kind of tough for that. I don't know. Texas A&M visits Baton Rouge Tiger Stadium, where dreams come and die. Coach O, good man right there. LSU and Texas A&M.
Yeah, I expected this game to be close, maybe an upset word, but I think about it while we've been talking over this time, I just expect LSU to destroy them. And here's why. I seen in that Georgia game so many missed opportunities on the flea flicker, there was a penalty and it called back a great run play by Georgia, and all you gotta do is way simpler saying it than it is doing it. I know that for sure. All you gotta do is bottle up Mr. Mon, which mobile quarterbacks can be trouble for any program. If you can stop him, he's not a passer at all. All he's going to do is little dink and dunks. They can just drop a spy in, have their linebackers alert, and just send some pressure to him. That's a big thing I noticed during the game. Even if you just send one man up, even as like a fake, he starts shaking in his boots. So, I mean, I expect LSU to just manhandle him.
I think LSU, after getting embarrassed last year, losing by 2 in 7 overtimes, I think they're ready to take on Georgia in the SEC Championship in Atlanta, and they'll take care of business in Tiger Stadium, and they'll finish off the season at 12-0 with a victory over the Aggies of Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher. Moving on, Florida and Florida State. Florida State, rough year. Still 6-5 bowl eligible, but they go down to Florida. Maybe can ruin Florida's not college football playoff hope, but, you know, kind of good-looking season. 2 losses, nearly a top 10 team. Who you got?
Yeah, I got Florida winning by 2 scores. That defense is maybe not trying to think of the word here. It's almost elite, but the run game for Florida is, put it bluntly, that run game is just garbage. I don't even know how Kyle Trask has been doing what he's doing. They got a pass game, that's for sure, but the run game is almost non-existent.
I'll go with Florida as well. Florida State struggled all year. Yeah, they're bowl eligible, but I don't think that they know. They're kind of looking for coaches. They look for PJ Fleck, looking for anybody that's looking for a job. They're just trying to find something. I'll go with Florida as well. And to cap off our rivalry week prediction list, we have Boomer Sooners number 7 Oklahoma visiting number 21 Oklahoma State. Oklahoma again, arguably best offense in the nation. Their defense has kind of been decent. They're ranked 7th in the nation. They got one blemish, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. You know who that was? I think that was Kansas State.
Yeah.
Lost by 7. Kansas State kind of took care of business, but they showed resiliency. They were down 25 to Baylor. They picked up a nice victory there. But Oklahoma State rivalry week again, big here. Oklahoma State ranked 21st. Got a couple losses on the year. Anything goes. Who you got?
I would say Oklahoma by 7, and not like a close 7. I would just say like it's gonna look close in the stats. I mean, not in the stats when you look at the final score, but it's not really gonna be that close. Because here's why: I don't trust that Oklahoma defense, and I still don't. It's gonna take something drastic for me to trust it. I mean, it's gonna have to be like a whole culture change over there. I think they have the best, not the best offense. I think that's LSU, but one of the best always. But their defense is just always below average. It's not near as bad as last year. It can hold its own this year, but still, it's below average.
I'll go with Oklahoma as well. Oklahoma, they're looking to make the playoff. Jalen Hurts probably wants a chance at Alabama. If Alabama takes care of business and things go their way, line them up. Oklahoma, I don't know how they're going to make it in if Utah wins. LSU wins. Ohio State, it's very slim for Oklahoma and the Sooners, but he's gonna turn up and maybe give up his Heisman candidacy. Well, it was a fun first show. College football rivalry week will commence Friday, starting off noon kickoff. Couple kickoff games from all around. We got the MAC, we got the ACC, we got the Big 12. We hope you enjoyed this first episode of the All Sports Podcast. And we're hoping that you come back for our next one. I'll talk to my colleague here. We'll see what we want to talk about next. Definitely college football next between Thursday, Friday. Definitely before Saturday. We hope you enjoyed the show. We hope you enjoyed our opinions. Leave a comment down below of your opinions. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think of how we think about college football? How do you think about how things are turning? Thanksgiving, I meant to mention that to you guys. Hope you enjoyed your day with your family. Hopefully you're very thankful for my partner here. Been through a lot, been through many years, and just getting started with this one.
Yep. Probably end the video on that one.
Yeah.